Hello and welcome to my channel, Kersey Books. Today I'm going to address some of the comments that have been made on my EMP Collapse series. Now, the vast majority of you are super supportive, super kind. I'm saying like 95% of the comments are very positive, very supportive, and I really appreciate you very much. But of course there's always a few comments that some might be negative, some are just comments. So I just want to address those. The first comment I want to address is about my narration. I had a whole video talking about hiring a narrator versus me doing it myself, and I'll link that up here. But some of you say that I sound a little robotic when I'm narrating. Now, you're not completely wrong, because sometimes I'll go back and I'll listen to some of my books and it's like, ooh, I do sound a little robotic in parts, but I know I've improved, and I think a lot of you think I've improved. I'm continuously trying to get better. I've noticed though sometimes when I first start a chapter, it might take me a second to kind of get into it, or sometimes there's words when they're together that you don't realize when you're speaking them out loud. It's almost like a tongue twister. You have to say the words deliberately to enunciate them, or they just kind of jumble together. It's hard to understand what I'm saying. So I have to be kind of precise when I say those things, and that makes it hard to like perform the story. Some people flat out tell me I should hire a narrator, but you know what's funny is I think some of them don't realize that I'm the author and the narrator. So it's like, I wrote the books, so it's my privilege to choose who narrates my books if I want to hire somebody, which is not cheap, or if I want to do it myself, which is the route I've chosen. And I really enjoy narrating my books, and I know that the vast majority of you think I do fine, or you're okay enough with it that you listen to my books. But I'm sorry if I sound robotic. I know I'm better than AI, because we tried that. Remember I did that video with the AI, which I'll link here, and we all decided we're not doing AI. And so even if sometimes I sound a little robotic, or if I don't have enough life in my voice, I'm better than AI. That's the other option. So, and also I was thinking, I think part of the time I'm concerned that if I really get into the story, I'm going to start going too fast. We had that problem before. Remember in Dare to Resist, I redid the entire book, and it ended up being, instead of 5 hours, 6 hours. So I added a full hour because that's how fast I went the first time. So, you know, I'm always trying to get better, and anyway, hopefully you'll stick with me. But I know that most of you will, because the people watching this video are my true fans, and I really appreciate you guys. Another comment that I get, and I totally get this because I'm the same way, is people complaining about too many ads. Now personally, I subscribe to YouTube Premium because I watch a lot of YouTube, and I hate ads. I always pay a little bit extra for streaming services if they have an ad-free version, like with Hulu or Discovery Plus, because to me it's worth it to pay a few extra dollars to avoid ads. But I understand that the companies who make them have to earn money somehow, and I'm the same way. I can't work for free, and I don't think any of you would work for free either. So I have to be paid one way or the other for my time, and so it's either through the ad revenue, or if people pay for YouTube Premium, then I get a little piece of that. But there's another option, my Patreon, which it's kind of like Netflix where you subscribe to it. Right now it's $5 a month. I'm probably going to increase the price for future people eventually, because my audiobook library over there, which are all ad-free, is growing and growing and growing. So right now it's $5 a month, but I can see that being increased eventually because that's a crazy good value. I think I currently have 12 full audiobooks over there. I just need to add 3 more for my Parallel World series after I combine them into one file each instead of the parts. Anyway, and in addition, something new that I started doing last week is, as I'm recording a new audiobook, and right now I'm recording The Billionaire Handyman, every weekday I'm loading 3 chapters as I go. So right now there's 15 chapters, I think, of that book over there. So if you want early access, that's a way to get early access. Because once I'm done recording the entire audiobook, which will be about 10 days from now, then I will put the entire audiobook on Patreon without ads. I'll also put it on YouTube, but there will be ads. So that's something that you can do if you can't stand the ads. $5 a month is a pretty good bargain for a bunch of audiobooks without ads when you think how much it costs to get books through Audible. So that's just something to consider. The ads will always be there on YouTube because that's how it works. So just so you're aware. Now also with Patreon, I just want to say thank you to my patrons and thank you to Jackie C, my newest patron. I really appreciate your support, but I am glad that there's another option for people who don't want to have ads where you can access my entire audiobook library ad-free. So be aware of that. Another comment people have made is they don't think things would fall apart as quickly as they do in Chaos Begins, because like the day of the EMP, things start falling apart. And who knows? Let's hope it wouldn't, right? But if any of you have ever watched when there's been a natural disaster, you've seen how there's looting, and there are a lot of people out there who will take advantage of chaos. And so unfortunately, there's a good possibility that things would fall apart that quickly. Now, there's going to be a lot of people, if there were ever to be an EMP, who would have no idea what's happening. There are people who I tell them about my books, they don't know what an EMP is. And so there's a lot of people who have no clue what that's all about. But there are plenty of people who do know and who would take advantage of that. And it would really only take a handful of people for our characters to run into to really cause problems for them. It doesn't have to be everything falling apart, but just a few people could really cause a lot of havoc. So I hope it wouldn't fall apart that quickly, but in all reality, I think things would fall apart a lot quicker than some of you might think. Other comments that I get question why my characters do certain things. They say, why did they do that? Or they should have done this. But you have to keep in mind, these characters are regular people. They're not military experts. They're not survival experts. They're just regular people trying to get by. And they may not make the same choices you would make, but that doesn't mean what they're doing is wrong or bad. They just make a different decision. Here's a couple of specific examples. So these are spoiler alerts. So if you have not yet listened to Chaos Begins, jump ahead to the next chapter in this video and skip this part because it's a spoiler. You've been warned. Okay. So the part where Alex and Melissa and Jason and a couple other people are walking home and a guy shoots at them and Jason gets shot in the leg and Alex tracks the guy down and disarms him. Some people are like, well, why did he let him go? Why didn't he just shoot him? Well, you guys, this was day 2 of the apocalypse. Alex has already killed 2 people in self-defense. Like he had to, because he was about to be, is a killer, be killed in that moment. But this guy's been disarmed. And Alex isn't quite ready to assassinate somebody who's disarmed on day 2 of the apocalypse. So I know what you're saying though, because I've watched shows like Walking Dead or whatever, and I'm like, just kill the person so they don't come back later and cause problems. So I get what I understand what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. But this character, I wasn't ready to have him kind of go that far where he's ready to kill an unarmed person. That's not where he is yet in this story. It's been like 24 hours since the EMP and he's not quite ready to take that step. So even though you might do something different, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what the character's going to do. And again, these are regular people trying to figure things out. So they're going to make different decisions than you. Okay, now this is also a spoiler alert. So jump ahead one more section if you haven't yet listened to Chaos Begins. Some people have said when Melissa is with her 2 co-workers and it's dark and they're kind of hiding in some bushes and they see 2 men coming and it's Alex and Jason looking for Melissa, but she doesn't know that. They're like, well, she should recognize them. She should know their voices. She should know it's them. Well, remember, she does think it's them, but she's like, no, she doubts herself because she can't believe they would kind of show up right then. She can't believe that they would have found her. So she doubts herself, but then she kind of goes with her gut and she follows them and discovers it is them. So even though she didn't immediately know it was them, that's not unrealistic to think that she wouldn't immediately recognize them. So there's been a couple of people commenting on that. I don't know why they say that, but she does think it's them, but she doubts herself. So I think that's realistic. Another comment that I get, which makes me kind of chuckle, is I can tell a woman wrote this, or this is a super sweet post-apocalyptic story, or that there's too much emotion and not enough logic. And that last comment really makes me laugh because my dad, last fall, before he passed away, he read all the books, which is so cool that he was so supportive of me. But he read them all and he actually commented the same thing. He's like, there's a lot of emotion and not a lot of logic. I'm like, Dad, but you know what? I am a woman. Just like people say, I can tell this was written by a woman. Well, You got me. I'm a woman. And I do believe I'm a more logical thinker than most women, but that doesn't mean I don't also have emotion. So yeah, my post-apocalyptic stories might be a little bit more mild than some, but you know, that's okay. Like, I don't have graphic violence, I don't use profanity, but I think that makes it more people might enjoy them. But that's not why I write that way. I write that way because that's what I like to read. I don't want a bunch of graphic violence. That's not necessary to me. I mean, plenty of people die. My characters kill people. People are dying, okay? They're being shot and killed and die in other ways that, you know, they die in other ways as well, but I don't have, how violent does it need to be for people to feel like it's not super sweet? Like, what? I don't get that. But you know what? If it's not for you, that's totally fine. But I know the people watching this video, you're my core audience, and you probably are fine with my stories. So, but I'm not going to make my stories more violent than they already are, because I don't like to think about super violent things. You get to a certain point and it's a little too disturbing. And so I feel like the violence that I have is enough. So if that's, you know, if someone doesn't find that to their liking, then they're welcome to find other stories that are more to their liking. There's something for everyone. So if you're not my audience, that's perfectly fine. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of people like to give advice in the comments about what people should do in post-apocalyptic situations. And that's great, because despite all the research I do and using common sense and trying to figure things out, I don't know everything. So it's great that people can give advice. That's fine. I'm okay with that. So, but sometimes it makes me laugh a little bit, because I do feel like sometimes people are mansplaining a little bit, but whatever, it's fine. If people have expertise they want to share, go for it. That's perfectly fine. That doesn't offend me, because, you know, I've grown a pretty thick skin over the years, and all the years I've been publishing, because there's always people who are going to be critical, and that's fine. And I know I'm going to make mistakes because, you know, I don't know everything. The only way we're really going to know what would happen in an EMP apocalyptic situation is for one to happen, and let's pray that never happens, because that would be horrendous. That would be way worse than a pandemic. So let's just hope that never happens. My next audiobook will be a romance, The Billionaire Handyman, and I know a lot of you aren't into that, and that's perfectly fine. I'm continuing to work on writing the 5th book in the EMP Collapse series. Here's another spoiler alert. If you haven't listened to all 4 of the EMP Collapse series books, including Chaos Collides, then jump to the next section, because I'm going to tell you what the 5th book is going to be about, and I don't want any spoilers for you. So you've been warned. Now, you know, at the end of the 4th book, our people are heading down to southern Utah to be with Melissa's sister, Heather, and Heather's husband, Scott. So book 5 is about Heather and Scott, and it starts from day 1 of the EMP and kind of what they experience. And then book 6 is going to be, the title is Fleeing Chaos, and that's going to be our people heading down to Scott and Heather's homestead. But this book, book 5, kind of will get us up to speed on what's happening with Scott and Heather. And I don't have a title yet. I'm still, I don't know. It's going to be a while before that's done. It's just, I don't know. It's just slow going for me. I don't know. So be patient, because it's taking me a little time to write it. I go for like 40 to 50,000 words is my goal, and I'm like at 14,000, so I've got a little ways to go yet. Anyway, it'll be coming eventually, but that will be the 5th book. The 6th book will be our people traveling down to be with them, and then the 7th book will be when they're together. Beyond that, I don't know, because I don't plot. I just kind of wing it. It's called pantsing or discovery writing, and that's how I write, so I don't know what's going to happen after that. And I don't know what's going to happen with Scott and Heather. It's like on day 2 or 3, I think, so far after the EMP, and there's already stuff happening, so that'll be the next one. But in the meantime, while I'm writing that 5th book, I'm going to be creating audiobooks of my books that I already have, because I have a pretty good library here of books that I've written. I've already done my dystopian stories, and I've done my post-apocalyptic that I have. I did my 2 suspense stories already. So now I have a lot of romances. I also have this series that just kind of has suspense in it. This is a romantic suspense here, but I have a lot of standalone romances. But right now I'm focusing on my billionaire romances. And so that's, as I'm writing the 5th book in the EMP Collapse series, I will be creating audiobooks for my billionaire romance series. And they're all standalone romances. And right now I'm doing The Billionaire Handyman. And like I said, on my Patreon, I've already have the first 15 chapters are available to listen to now. And every day I'm putting up 3, every weekday I'm putting up 3 chapters. And the full book will be done in like 10 days, I think. And then I'll put it up on YouTube. So if you want to check out my Patreon, get ad-free audiobooks, get early access for $5 a month, check the link in the description and you can see if that's something you're interested in. But again, thank you so much for listening and for supporting my channel.